Welcome back to my channel. I am Michelle Mills. I am a certified health coach and I am an eczema warrior, and I have been on my eczema healing journey pretty much my entire life, but specifically a natural eczema healing journey for the last 5 years. And I want to just tell you my story over the last 5 years of how I went from a place of severe eczema to very, very, very minimal eczema. So it all started back in 2017. I graduated from undergrad and I was going to go to grad school. That's kind of the context of 2017. But this whole story is gonna start around April of 2017. I was still in college and I decided that I wanted to join a modeling agency. And I had been doing freelance modeling for a couple of years and I wanted to finally do it with an agency. I thought it'd be so cool. So I ended up having a patch of eczema right here. I had to go into the modeling agency to sign my paperwork, and I remember covering it up with makeup so that they couldn't see that I had eczema. That was kind of like my first memory of having eczema in that year. So I ended up graduating and I moved from North Carolina to Philadelphia in 2017. And so I am working a job. I ended up getting a internship as a web designer or something. And I was also going to school, doing grad school at night and doing the job during the day. I remember that summer I did the Whole30 challenge. And after the Whole30, I got extremely rebellious about eating. I was eating bagels, cream cheese, I was eating Ben & Jerry's ice cream, and I was eating a pint of Ben & Jerry's weekly. And I think it was around September when I started seeing eczema again show up on the insides of my elbows. It was red, but it would get dry. And so at the time I was like, oh, I'll just drink green tea. That's what I was trying at the time. I was like, oh, I just need to go back to a healthy diet and green tea helps. So I would drink green tea in the morning and within 3 hours, the inflammation would reduce in my eczema. In the morning, it was really bad, but it would get better if I would drink the green tea, but it was not going away. It started in September and it was not going away. December 15th is my dad's birthday, and my Nana had made a cheesecake, and I went over to their house for his birthday and I ate the cheesecake and had probably the most painful flare-up I've ever had. I was at my wit's end, honestly. It had grown so big, it was so red, and it got so inflamed after that cheesecake. At that point, my parents were really worried about me. I was worried about me. That week, I ended up finding Karen Fisher's book, which is The Eczema Diet. And I started reading about it and just I don't know, I got it on my phone. I got it as an ebook on my phone, and I'm trying to find the diet that I need to get on. And I ended up getting on this diet, and apparently my eczema was just so severe and my liver was so overworked that I reacted to carrots. And carrots are pretty low in salicylates. For me personally at that time, salicylates were the hardest thing for my body to deal with. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically a plant chemical. The plant, all plants, create different chemicals to prevent other things from eating it. And so salicylates, histamines, a bunch of different plant chemicals, and salicylates for me were the worst. And my poor liver and my skin were just in such bad shape that I reacted to carrots. I had some raw carrots, and that night I was so itchy and crying, and I just couldn't deal with myself. I was staying the night at my parents' house, sleeping on an air mattress, and I was in so much discomfort. It sucked. At that point, I was eating 10 things. I could eat lentils, wild caught fish, beans, leeks, garlic. I didn't have much that I could eat, and I was being as creative as humanly possible. I could also eat sweet potatoes. This was the end of 2017, early 2018. I did the most research I've ever done. That's where I ended up finding out that my liver was involved, and I had a non-alcoholic fatty liver. Figured out how to detox it through milk thistle, so I was taking milk thistle. At the time I was taking L-glutamine, which is supposed to heal leaky gut. I was taking glycine. Glycine and milk thistle were like my favorites. Everything started clicking into place in my brain, and I was like, I have to create a diet that gets rid of this faster because I can't deal with this. So I ended up creating the Gut Healing Eczema Protocol in 2018 that you guys might know about if you watch my videos. And it basically is a trifecta of low salicylate, doesn't feed candida as much, heals leaky gut, and detoxes the liver. And that's what that diet is, the Gut Healing Eczema Protocol. And my eczema healed within 3 months. By March of 2018, my eczema had almost, it disappeared. All the redness had reduced. I went through that weird flaky stage where my skin was just shedding and shedding and shedding before I ended up being able to heal my eczema when my eczema was still severe. I went for a drive. I love going for drives. I went to this little town near where I lived, and I found a health food store and a cafe. So I go into the cafe and I found gluten-free brownies, and I was like, oh great, this is so great, because at the time I swore against fridge foods, fried foods, refined sugar, eggs, dairy, gluten. And I think that the brownie was sweetened with maple syrup or something. And so I go into the health food store, I'm looking around, and I get in the car and I start eating the brownie or something like that. And so as I'm driving home, my skin freaks out. I have a massive flare up. I can't deal with myself. I'm crying. The pain is just so severe. I was calling my mom crying, and I'm like, I can't go to the dermatologist. I was watching YouTube videos at the time, and I knew enough that I wanted to heal it naturally. The doctors were just gonna prescribe me medicine. I didn't want a Band-Aid solution. I wanted something that really worked. It was that point forward that I got super stubborn because my parents and friends and everybody were so worried about me. And I had to figure out something to do. And so that's what led me into this completely natural healing journey. Within a few months, I have a smaller flare. I was able to heal that. A couple months later, I had a small flare, was able to heal that. I ended up trying to implement goat yogurt into my diet and goat cheese and all this stuff, and my eczema had came back. And I falsely thought that me eating that was causing my eczema. It wasn't. I was consuming sugar, and my first flare was a candida-induced flare. The candida caused my liver to become overworked. So that whole situation was completely caused by candida. It was caused by candida because I was eating bad foods, and I had a huge history of rounds and rounds of antibiotics when I was in college. In 2019, the very beginning, I get another flare in the exact same area. It was not as severe this time. I ended up going to New York City with one of my close friends. We are having so much fun. I'm drinking coffee with CBD in it because at this point I'm like, this flare is from stress. I swear it. So I'm like, oh, CBD helps so much. That year I was all about CBD for my stress-induced eczema. Stress can actually cause candida, by the way. In New York City, we end up eating a lobster tail pastry and a cannoli pastry. And I'm like, no, it's fine. I can eat sugar. It's just the stress. That's all. No. I end up having a massive flare attack the day that we were supposed to fly home. This whole healing journey isn't about linear healing or curing it. It's about realizing that you're learning and your body's healing, and it takes time. In 2019, I ended up moving to San Diego. So this was 6 months from that really awful flare up. I ended up flaring from the move cross country, which was stress. Then in 2020, February, I have a disgusting flare up right here. And I say it's disgusting because it was the first time my eczema oozed. It wasn't a big flare at all, but it was so bad, and it was oozing, and I couldn't stop itching it, and I kept putting stuff on it. At that point I was putting bentonite clay on it. It did not help. When I had my flare back in 2017, that first major flare, my dad had taken me to the store because I needed relief from the pain and the itching. I ended up buying a whole bunch of different eczema products. Nothing worked. Ended up trying shea butter, which worked really well. I liked coconut oil and I liked olive oil. And so I would mix together shea butter, olive oil, coconut oil with lavender essential oil and 1 drop of tea tree essential oils. And I had to keep it by my bed. My skin was so dry, I literally had to, like, in the middle of the night, like, slather my skin. Otherwise I would crack and bleed. In 2020, after trying to put stuff on my skin, that was the last straw. Like, I was like, no, I will never put something on my skin. Like, I'm good. Like, since then, I've had little patches here and there. This past fall, I had eczema behind my knees pretty badly, and that was from Candida. Recently, well, I don't have it anymore, but I had a patch on my hand, and I've been using moringa oil. Somebody reached out to me about their, like, products and stuff, and they're like, hey, do you want to try this moringa oil? Like, we have our own farm. And I was like, sure. So I've used it consistently for 4 weeks now, and it completely healed a hand flare. I still have eczema on my shins. It's very mild eczema. Right now it's completely mild. I think that it's also going away because I figured out a Candida protocol that works, because again, I have Candida. And the protocol is in my last video. So go watch the last video that I posted, and it's basically all about Candida. So that has been my eczema journey for the last 5 years. And like, I'm constantly learning about eczema. And with this community that I have with you guys and on Instagram, I am just so much more capable of understanding how eczema affects the masses, because I ask you guys questions. I'm like crowdsourcing, getting all this information, researching. I just want to keep sharing what I've learned with you guys. If you've watched my older videos, like, they're out of date. The information that I have now is way more accurate. It's actually annoying because I think I've had Candida-induced eczema, which the root cause of that could also be stress, on and off my whole life. So I still don't think my gut is fully balanced. I might not have leaky gut, but I definitely have an imbalance in my gut. The past 3 or 4 months, I've been so in control of my stress for the most part that I'm finally healing. So my Empowered Eczema program, which is my 12-week long program that I offer for people to heal their eczema naturally, goes through finding your root cause, figuring out what diet you need to be on. And it also goes into stress and managing all of that. But my camera's about to die, so I've got to cut it here. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in my next video.
I like crashing waves, but I wanna see them at first light. After